got 110 people registered in already. We've had nearly 200 register for the day, so I'm sure there are going to be a few more joining us soon. Maxine, I just would say I can still see Roberto on my screen. I don't know if you can change that for Roberto's sake. I'm Paul Winder from MGI in the UK and Ireland and trying to help progress technology matters for MGI. I'm delighted that David Benaim is joining us again from Xlconsulting in Cambodia. David did a fantastic webinar for us on working from home and some of the systems that we can use in these interesting times. And we've now arranged a series of other webinars with David, starting with Excel today. And he's assured me you are all going to go away with lots more knowledge and lots more capability. So it's great to be linking up with you again, David. If there's any questions, can people pop them in the chat box as we go through? But I know David has got an awful lot to get through, so I'm going to hand you over to him now. David, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Paul. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
So I'm going to start sharing my screen. I did put a link to a form, so whilst people are waiting, feel free to fill that in. It's just kind of collect a bit of data about what people's expectations are, and then also kind of showcase some of the cool things from there, including how to build a form. So here we are. We're going to talk about modern Excel for collaboration today. So classic Excel, things that people are used to doing, dragging down formulas, VLOOKUPs, using AND in a formula, in a function, using text functions, using macros, things like comments. These are features that exist in classic Excel. Modern Excel, though, has superseded all of these. And my aim is to show you how that's happened and a whole load more. So this, as Paul said, is going to be such a demo-heavy session. Blink once, you'll miss something, but that's why we have a video afterwards that we can share with you. Plus, if you want to see even more, then I do have my own YouTube channel under my name, David Benaim, where I talk about a lot of these features in themselves. So you can subscribe to that if you want things to happen. So I'm going to start off with Excel goes quantum. Then who am I? Modern Excel, talk about Power Query, interacting with forms, and finally summarizing. So Excel goes quantum. Quantum theory has two fundamental sides to it. You've got the science of the very small, which is known as quantum mechanics. And when that came out, that was trying to prove that, atoms can be subdivided. We already knew that into neutrons, protons, and electrons. But then beneath that, we have even smaller particles, for example, quarks. And there are concepts that mean that an atom is not an atom anymore. Things have gone smaller and things mean a whole load more. Similarly, in the 20th century, also have quantum physics, which a lot of you have probably heard of Albert Einstein, who was the grandfather of this, and how we just realized that the science of the very big is something we also don't necessarily understand like we used to. So before 2020, Excel had one fundamental principle, and that was that one cell can contain one value, no more, no less. You couldn't have multiple things in one cell, and you couldn't have a value that took over multiple cells. Both of these things were just not possible in fundamental Excel. However, we have breached those boundaries with Excel in my first demo. From 2020 onwards, one cell can have multiple values and one formula can output in multiple cells. So let me show you what I mean by that. Right, so here I am in my screen, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see clearer. So over here I have costs and cost per minute here. So fundamentally in Excel, if you wanted the total cost, we would do this times this, and then we would drag it down. Now this is a concept that I'm sure that everyone on this meeting is used to and has used for eons. But I'm telling you now that that has changed, because now I can do this, equals this column multiplied by this column, press enter. And the results come out in multiple rows of data in one cell. Now, this is a concept called dynamic arrays. Excel engineers completely reinvented the formula engine to Excel a couple of years ago on the basis that this should happen. Because this is not just a small change, but I'm going to show you tons more use cases of this in a second. So what happens if there was data there? So if I have some text here, I get this spill error that tells me that it cannot fill into this because there is data in there already. Now, if I try to do that and let's say I delete it and I have some text, this one times this one, it will give me that spill error straight away. There are lots more things that come along with dynamic arrays. For example, we have the introduction of 6 new functions, which I'll show you my favorite ones. So this is some data about the Avengers movies for people who are into that. So here we have the abilities column, and let's say we want to figure out what's in here. I can write here and I can go equals unique. Select all of these, close my brackets, and I get the unique ability types. Now this is dynamic, as the name implies. So if something gets added on, that goes into the unique data set as well. You have unique. You also have, if I go back to 0, you also have one called sort. So I could do sort and then unique and combine those and then go abilities. And it gives me the same, except it sorts them in alphabetical order. Now, all of these functions have more variables inside them. So for example, with unique, you can do unique over multiple columns. With sort, you can sort and specify which sort direction or which column, etc. But this ability I just use all the time. You have another one, equals filter. So give me everything from these columns, comma, where this column is equal to female. I need to put in speech marks, like you always do when you refer to text in Excel. Press enter, and then you get this appearing there. Now, again, it's dynamic. So if this person decides to identify as a female, then they would start showing up over here as well. You can change sort of the parameters in this. You could have multiple filters if you want, but this sort of ability is something that when you start using it, you just want to keep using it because it's just really, really good. So that is dynamic arrays. And that is one of the concepts I wanted to kick you off with. And for me, that is the ability that one formula can now return multiple cells. So in the analogy I gave of quantum theory, one formula can now return multiple cells. So let's look at it the other way around. And this is another new concept in Excel. So is it possible for a cell to contain multiple values? Here I've just written out a series of countries. I can go to Data tab, and I can choose, on the Data tab, I have Geography and Stocks. Click on that. And then it's got this icon next to it. Let's have a look at what that gives me. Oh, you see that? Pretty cool, eh? By the way, if you find something really exciting, type the wow, just type wow in the chat box if you find something you really like. I'm curious what people like about this. So this is able to give me all this information about Spain. And if I want to as well, I can select all of these. I can click the plus button there, and I can get the birth rate. I can get the area.
David, you have instant wow, I assure you.
Yeah,
the wows are flowing.
Oh, I love this feature. It's really good. And that applies to stocks and geography. It also works in a different style with cities or with states, counties, provinces, depending what country you're in from. So here with cities, you have a different type. You can't get the birth rate, but you can get the latitude and longitude, for example, which you can't do with countries because it is a span of those. You also have it applying to stocks. So you can just write the names of stocks and click that. And you can also get it to currency pairs. So, I mean, I can make one for you now. I can just write USD, GBP, and EUR, THB, Thai baht. You can click there, go to stocks, and then press plus, and you can get the price. And this does update automatically. Well, the link comes in automatically. You just need to refresh to get the latest price. Now, what it's not able to currently do at the moment is give you historic prices, although they've said that is coming soon. So this is what I mean, the science of the very small. One cell can now contain multiple things within it. All of this is now contained within the cell, technically, that's linked to an online source. All right, so going a little bit further. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's really great to get the population of Portugal in my spreadsheet. But in the workplace, as an accountant, how often am I really going to use that? But Microsoft have said that this is just the beginning. Don't think about the rich data types feature as what it is, but think about it as what it could be. And that goes in two avenues. Firstly, they've announced that they're going to add 100 plus more data types very, very soon, coming imminently in the next 3 months. And that includes food, nutrition. I have a fun GIF that I can show you on that.
David, can I just jump in? I know we want to try and keep questions to the end, but there's been a number of people asking of can you change the source for where the data is fetched, at what we were just looking at.
Okay, yeah, good question.
And what indeed is the online source that Excel is relying on?
So good question. If you scroll to the bottom of each one, it sort of tells you where it comes from. Okay. Most of this is from Wikipedia for the geography stuff, but the stock data, if you click on it at the bottom, this just says powered by Bing. So a short answer is you can't change the source. Okay. The place where the new data types are going to come from is Wolfram Alpha, which is a distributor. Here's an example of what it can do. So this is a nutrition one, right? You can write things like what you're eating and it can return the calories, the carbs, the fats, all of these sort of vitamins as well. I don't have access to this, otherwise I would show it to you because it's pretty cool. But this is what's coming. And then it says here there's going to be over 100 topics, including food, movies, places, chemistry, and even Pokemon. And I know what you're thinking. If I wasn't going to use the geography data types, I'm definitely going to find a use for Pokemon in my professional career. However, this is only part of the puzzle, because the other announcement that Excel made last week is that you're going to be able to link your internal data types in here. So for example, in your company, you have a list of products. Each product has a given price to it, has a quantity on stock, has a sales manager, has a physical location, whatever it may be. You're going to be able to sort of set these as a company data type and then click on this button and add all of those fields relevant to the thing. So there's a few different ways that's going to come in. One is through Power Query, one is through Power BI, which I'll show you Power Query in a little bit, but that is sort of where things are going to go with Excel, a big avenue they're taking. All right. Here's that GIF again. So that's my first demo. But yeah, I didn't talk about who I was. Paul briefly mentioned it. So that's me. No, not quite. I have a really random background. I was born in this place. I grew up in this place, and I live now in this place. Can anyone, does anyone know what these places are? Is anyone good with flags? Do people want to guess? I know we've got a very international crowd, so maybe people will be able to guess these. Anyone over here? No, all right. Oh, I had a couple, didn't I?
I haven't got it yet, David.
All right. Well, I was born in the Bahamas. I grew up in Gibraltar. I live now in Cambodia. So pretty international. By the way, I am going to be demonstrating a few other things, like a lot of the tricks that I show now. I have future sessions coming with MGI as well. So this sort of arrangement, do you see that smooth, slick, dynamic, switching to the next slide? I'm going to be showing you guys how to do this in the modern PowerPoint session next week. So sign up to that if you want some more stuff, because if Excel has gotten better, wait for PowerPoint. So I run a company called Xlconsulting. I've done training for over 1,800 people, mostly in Excel, but also in other things. We consult with over 120 organizations, mostly nonprofits. I'm also a chartered accountant who trained with the ICAW in the UK. I'm obsessed with all speed up tricks. And as I said before, I have a YouTube channel under my name, David Benaim, if people want to sign up to that. Subscribe and you get all of my videos. Excel, PowerPoint, Teams, Zoom as well. Started doing a bunch in Zoom. So our personal devices. So this is the mini disc player got released in 1992, the Game Boy Color 98, and this is a Nokia 3310 that almost everyone had. Got released in 1999. So when we talk about consumer technology, we tend to move that quite fast because this is an example of one, say the way we listen to music. We have this, which was the mini disc player that then got transformed into listening to music on an iPod, which is not just transforming the medium, but it's transforming how we do it. We now don't own anything. We just sort of kind of subscribe to something and download music. And then that got changed yet again to Spotify or Apple Music, where we just have an ongoing subscription. So the way that we do music has transformed not once, but twice in the last 20 or so years. We look at 1999, and 90% of office life back then was using email, looking things up on Google, using Office 97, and having meetings until the end of 1999. Some of you might remember this, the big explosion. What changed? The short answer is nothing changed, because in 2019, 20 years after that, and even this year, 90% of what we do in the office is email, having meetings, looking things up on Google, and using Microsoft Office 1997. Now, I know what you're thinking. I don't use Office 97. I use Office 2019 or 16 or 13. But I kind of disagree with that, because I think that most people are still just using the same buttons that were there in 97 and not bothering to click on the new stuff. And that's what I'm going to demo for the rest of today. So yeah, people can use the newer software, but often I find that they don't get to it. So modern Excel, unveiling what's to come. Fewer formulas, using AI, using visualization tools, and collaboration. In particular, we are going to talk about collaboration, but we're going to talk about that in the context of the other areas as well. So do you see how smooth that is? It just gives your users a new PowerPoint experience, right? Some other new features here are this sort of thing. This is a clickable menu inside PowerPoint. So I have the ability to go to whichever section I want and take my users, my audience, through a journey that way. Again, if you want to learn how to do that, next week we are talking about it. Also, these icons, I love how you can just make them clean in one color. Sorry, I'm almost as obsessed with PowerPoint as I am with Excel. Fewer formulas. Make things more efficient, things like the switch or the text join functions, dynamic arrays like what I showed you, or DAX functions which come with Power Pivot. So let me show you the next one, using AI. So Flash Fill is a fantastic feature, came out about 7 years ago. Using ideas, ask a question about your data, And we already saw the stock and geo data types as well. So let's go into these and do another couple of demos. All right. So using AI within your spreadsheet. Now, I did ask in that questionnaire, does anyone use these sort of left, right, etc. functions? Let's take a quick glance at what the answers are. 31, good. So 13 people, not too many, but that's still good enough to go with. So let's say we want to extract the given name and the family name from this. So what I can do is I can just start typing here. And then with modern Excel, I can select this column, go to the data tab, and choose here the option for flash fill. What's this? Type wow if you like that. You see what it's done? It's extracted the customer name for every amount. All right, got a few there. Now, again, if you are used to using formulas, this is the formula you'd have to write. Not particularly complicated for the given name, although still not really intuitive. But let me show you the formula to extract a family name, like that. And then the formula to combine things together. So look how annoying that is and how difficult that might be to write. So let's extract the family name here. So I'm going to say the first example. I'm going to select it and go to flash fill. Now, that has kind of worked, but not exactly if I look at my customers. So there's two problems here. The first one is my casing's kind of muddled up. So my input data had bad casing issues with a capital O there and capital letters here. So that's kind of gone off into this. And also where I have double-barreled last names like Downey Jr., Scott Thomas, Catherine Zeta-Jones, that just gives me the one word. And that is because Excel is not sure what I'm trying to do. I mentioned this is AI. So AI has got another name, which is machine learning. And it means that the machine tries to give a guess based on what you do. And then if you feed it more information, it can learn and give you some more accurate replies. So I can write in the first one. Let me start again from scratch. I'm going to select here, press flash fill. It doesn't get it right straight away. So immediately I can type over this one and then watch what happens to Johansson. You see that? So it's managed to pick up that I want everything in lowercase except the first letter. Let me try the second transformation. I want this to not be Junior, but be Downey Jr. And then let's see what happens to these bottom two. You see that? So this works by you telling the machine more information until it's able to guess more accurately what you want to give it. So that's flash fill. And if that's all the flash fill did, we would be really impressed. But it goes further. It also allows you to combine into a description column. So I can say here, let's say Eva buys games for 21K. Or actually, let's make it a bit harder, like this. So let's look at all the transformations that's happening here. I'm extracting everything before the @ symbol, 1. I'm capitalizing it, 2. I'm adding in the custom word buys, 3. I'm adding in games, 4, but then I'm lowercasing games, 5. I'm adding in a custom word for, F-O-R, and then I am adding in quantity, but take 7, but taking everything only before the comma, 8. So that's 8 transformations. Let's see how flash fill fares. Click on it, flash fill on the data tab, and there you go. Now, has it done it? Not quite. It's taken MOR here. In fact, it thinks that I took the F from the gender column here, and therefore I want M later on. But as we know, flash fill is live, so if I change one, that will fix it there. And now just imagine this is 5,000 rows of data that you want to very, very quickly make this adjustment to. So that is one form of AI that's come to Excel. This came out in 2013, so it's a while. Let's look at another one. So I can select my data and I can go to the Home tab and choose Ideas. It's analyzed my data and it's given me these insights. So products, clothes, and phones have noticeably higher quantity. If I want to, I can insert a pivot chart there, and then it will do this for me, and it highlights what it's found. So it's not only creating a pivot table or chart, it's using artificial intelligence to tell me what's useful to know. Show all 12 results. So this one is mostly about majority stuff, but it can also identify outliers, trends over time, things like that throughout my data as well. Frequency, this is using a histogram chart, so it's not a pivot chart, but it's a new kind of visual called a histogram. So it's able to do all these sort of transformations there. You can also ask a question about your data. So I could say total quantity for games. There we go. I can even say, and I can insert a pivot table to add it. I can also say top three products. There you go. It's filtering. It's created a pivot table and filtered at the top 3. All right. So that is that feature just got released last month, actually. But let's keep going because we have way more to show.
Well, on the Wowometer, David, you've scored very highly and have references to the spreadsheet Stone Age. But the one key question from Franco that I really liked was, can I stay at home and just let Excel do all the work?
Well, I mean, that's what we're doing in the pandemic, right?
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah, I mean, artificial intelligence gets better and better, particularly if you combine Excel with Power BI as well, which is another tool that's very linked to Excel. So co-authoring. So not many people know this, but now multiple people can edit an Excel file at the same time from different places, from their own homes. So the way to do that is you need to save your file onto the cloud. So quickest way to do that is you turn on autosave like this, and then choose to save it on either on OneDrive, and then you can share it with other people like this. So it could be people inside your organization or people outside, although in order to be able to edit it, they have to have the newest version of Excel. I will show you how to do that in a sec. So once something is shared in SharePoint, I have another one that I have a demo of that's prepared over here. So I have on my right, I have Excel Desktop. On my left, I have Excel Online. Excel Online is like Google Sheets. You can access Excel through a web browser. I hardly ever use it, but this is the only way I can do this demo, so that's why I've got it now. As you can see, it shows me on each of them where the cursor is for the other person. And if I edit something here, then the change comes on the other side. So again, I will repeat, this does not have to be in Excel Online. That's just the only way I can demo it. You can also do other kinds of things. I said comments are not any more important, and that's because comments got completely reinvented after Excel realized they weren't very good. If you're used to comments, you've probably seen something like this with the red box. And this has always been what Excel's called a comment. However, to be honest, that's not a comment, that's a note. And so they've renamed it to a note. What we expect from comments is what we do on social media like Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. We want to be able to mention people, to reply to comments, right? Making a collaborative experience. So Excel have created this new feature that it's called comments, which is also available in Word and PowerPoint in the same way. You can say, hey, is this right? Enter there, and then people can reply, yes, no. And then here you can just sort of put in a new comment. And then I can mention people in my organization, like this person. and then that person, they asked me to share it first, but that person will get an email notification telling him he's been mentioned in a comment. If you want to review all your comments, you can go to the show comments pane and it shows all of them, even if they're in another part of your spreadsheet. So comments in Excel did not used to be good, but now they are pretty much a lot better. You also have view options. You have this thing called sheet view. Now this allows you to, when you are working with someone in the same file, one person can see one filter and the other person can see another filter at the same time. I won't go through this in much detail because it takes a little bit longer to show, but that's what it does. It's very similar to Google Sheets. And I have a video to explain it on my YouTube channel. So this feature is still in pre-release mode actually, but it's about to get released very soon.
David, on the idea tab,
Yes.
we've had a question from Shankar asking what version of Excel he needs to be on.
Okay, great question, actually. I was going to talk about versioning later on, but
okay, sorry.
let me, but this is a good time to interject and show it to you. So Excel and Microsoft Office used to have cadence releases in 3-year cycles. So there was Excel 2007, 10, 13, 16, 19. But recently they've started to do a subscription model whereby if you pay monthly for Office 365, you get the new releases once a month. So some of these things that I'm showing are only in the newest one. The way to know for your version, click on File and then click Account, and you'll see it here. I have Microsoft 365, which by the way just got rebranded from from Office 365. And then here I have version 2006, which means 2020-06 is the month of June, month number 6. As I said, I have the pre-release version, so I have June version in May, but if you have this version, you would see just 2005. However, if you have here, it says Office 2016, 2013, then that means that unfortunately you don't get all the new updates. I do have at the end of this talk, I have a list of where each feature comes in. And we will share that via everyone who participated as well. It's a bit tricky to go through this feature is available in this version, but not this version and this version. So specifically for ideas, this is only in Excel 365. So it's only in the version that you get monthly updates for. Flash fill is available from Excel 2013 though. And I'm showing co-authoring is also 365. Right. All right, cool. So more visual stuff, new charts, something called in-cell charts, heat charts and map charts. So go back here. Here I have countries and this is birth rate I got before. I can select these two values and go to insert maps. You like that one? This is available in Excel, PowerPoint, and Word. You can right-click and format data series if you like, and change the map area to be only regions with data, like that. It uses these, the only map chart for now is a chloropleth map, which is this sort of thing here. However, the fact that maps has a drop-down means that I guess they're going to add more types. Otherwise, why would it have a drop-down? Things like Power BI, where you can get like pie charts in the middle of each country, would be a good addition. The other way that you can use map charts is, for example, if you have some text-based data. Let's say here, for example, I have products, and this is fruits, veg, meat, veg. I can select all of these and go to map chart, and then it will color code it like that. Again, it's good to do only regions with data to zone in on the territory there. So that's the other way. It can work with text or with numbers. So a little bit about other visuals. So here we have some data with that we are analyzing. So pivot tables. Pivot tables for everyone really are the best way to analyze data. My one advice would be if you don't use pivot tables now, you are wasting time. There is no question that you are wasting time if you don't use pivot tables. It's like saying to someone, if you don't use copy and paste, you're wasting time. Pivot tables are essential. Pivot tables, I'm going to show you some cool things from new stuff with them and also some other interactivity stuff. So if you want to analyze data, you can go to Insert Pivot Table. Just got released. You can get a pivot table directly from Power BI. But I am going to be hopefully doing a Power BI webinar in a few weeks with MGI. So feel free to sign up for that, for data visualization if you want to. When I create a pivot table, I can upload and do analyzing data. Now, here's a few things with pivot tables. So this is actually not a new feature, but just something that I didn't know this for a while. And when someone showed this to me, I was like, oh my God, this would have saved me hours. So if you do formulas in a pivot table, you might be aware that you typically get these get pivot data functions. And then when you drag down, it doesn't work because it's still referring to that one. Now, what I didn't know you could do is you could actually disable that. So if you go to File, Options, Formulas, and untick this, use get pivot data functions for pivot table references. Now, if you go equals this one, it's just a regular formula. So you can do this. So yeah, if you find that useful, then I'm with you. It's so strange that they hide that, but it's really, really good. All right, good. We've got a couple of people who have replied to that. Wow, yeah. Actually, this feature's been around forever. It's not a new Excel feature, genuinely. So here's another one. So here I have a pivot table that says how many actors I have by gender. And this one says that I have 9 male actors. And if I look over here, I only actually have about 8 actors. So how can 9 of them be male? And that is because this is doing a count. It's not doing a unique count. In Excel, as opposed to Google Sheets, it's not possible to do a unique count. So here, for example, it's not possible for Excel to say that this is actually for 3 people. Excel will only say there are 5 cells selected. However, there is a workaround there, and that's what I'm going to show you with a pivot table. So you're able to select data and go to Insert Pivot Table. Just click this box that says Add this data to the data model. And that's got a bunch of new features that I'll show you. This came out in Excel 2013. So what this does, it allows you to create pivot tables from the Power Pivot data model. I won't go into that in too much detail because it's pretty advanced, but I will cover that actually in the Power BI session because Power Pivot is in Excel and in Power BI the same way. So I'm going to build that same one. I'm going to choose gender and then actor here. I have a count of actor. Now, I can right click here and I can choose show values, summarize values by, and choose more options. And then I can go to here and I can scroll down and I get this distinct count option. That gives me 3 and 5. Just to prove that, if I did that in here, if I go to value field settings and I scroll to the bottom, distinct count is not there. It's only because I ticked that box. Let's show you another one. So if you like that one, you might like this one as well. So let's say I have a pivot table, but you know, my boss doesn't really like pivot tables. They're not very Excel savvy. They want to have like, you know, a gap in between here with some blank rows and maybe a corporate logo or something. So I end up having to manually build formulas from these pivot tables, which is a tedious process. If you tick that button that says add this to the data model, in Analyze, you have OLAP tools. and convert to formulas. Everything now is a live formula. You can add whatever you want. You can cut and paste here. It's still all linked. It creates these cube formulas. And if I change my backing data, like here, just changing a few cells to let you see that, and I go here, and then I just click data and refresh all, it will update that data. It's refreshing quite a lot here, but we're seeing that get cube value. Okay, there you go. So it's refreshing this data type here, like that. Pretty cool, eh? So that's a couple of things on pivot tables. The other thing that's come to Excel Analytics is these things called slicers. So slicers are the ability to change. You see, now this is kind of not very good data, but yeah, sort of exaggerated there. But with slicers, I can click on these different parameters, and then all of the charts will only show me what's happening in light of what I click on. Only females, only from Civil War, only from, it's called a timeline, only from the months of September till December. And then these charts have changed to show me what I see relevant to my data. So these things are called slicers, and they're in the Insert tab over here, Slicer and Timeline. They work best with pivot tables. They also work with tables, though. But yeah, they work really good with pivot tables. As I said before, you can have pivot tables that do all sorts of things, that can get data from multiple tables using relationships. I'll talk about this more in the session with Power BI and Power Pivot. And then you have other kinds of data visualizations that are new. You have something called a Pareto chart, a box and whisker chart. If anyone does stats, box and whisker is a must. They are now in the Insert tab over here. And you also have waterfall charts. I really like these. They're built into Excel now. A lot of people used to use manual workarounds for them, but now they're built in. All right, keep going. VLOOKUP replacements. Just got a couple more demos. So VLOOKUP. Now, firstly, VLOOKUP, a lot of the Excel community is claiming is dead. I know that's a big statement, because if I look at how many people voted for things, I could see that you have 19 people out of 31, so about 2/3 who voted that they use VLOOKUPs. Now, VLOOKUPs always had a problem. In fact, they always had quite a few problems. The main one being that it can look left to right, but it can't look backwards. So, for example, if I have here the email address, I can't then look for the sex of that person. So the VLOOKUP, you can't look from right to left, you can only look left to right. So I could look at it from this name to the sex column, but I can't look at it backwards. Now Xlookup fixes that. What Xlookup does is it allows you to specify the lookup value, which in this case I'm going to say is this one, comma. Then what is my lookup array? And then what is my return array? So rather than specifying a table, you just specify the column, F4, comma, you specify the return column, and then you're done. You don't have to press comma, false, comma, 0 to give an exact match. And this will give you the formula there. So this is using Xlookup. It also has other parameters like if not found. So to avoid this error, I can say in the last input, I can say comma, if not found, then unknown. And then it will just show it like that. And then you have some more obscure options for exact or approximate matches and whether to look from top to bottom or from bottom to top. But I rarely use those, although I do use the value of error 1 a lot. So that is Xlookup, but that's not really all of the problem, because VLOOKUP to most database people is only one of the many joins that exist in databases. Not going to go into database theory. That's heavier. I will go into that a bit more in the Power BI session, though, because it's useful to understand. But I'm going to explain the concept. The concept is that if I have the movie table here, I have the inputs from here, and then I get NA errors like that. But what if I want something else? So what if I want, for example, to know, well, who are the people who are only in the first table? Who are the people who are in both tables? Who are the people who are in either table? And give me all of the rows from that amount. Using a VLOOKUP or even an XLOOKUP, your output table must have the same number of rows as the table that you're sourcing from. But you can have another type of join, which can allow you to have rows only in the first table, rows only in the second table, etc. Now, this is an incredibly useful feature to be able to understand and get a list of where things are not matching in list 1, but not in list 2, a very common business scenario. But you can do that with Power Query. So I talk about Power Query. What is it? Power Query is probably the biggest thing to have happened to Excel in 20 years. Forget about learning macros. Macros was the important thing to learn 20 years ago, but macros are the fax machine to Power Query's smartphone. Power Query is the modern way to transform data. In the data tab, all of this is Power Query. You can grab data from a table, and then it will launch this whole new screen that's not even Excel anymore. It's got 4 tabs: Home, Transform, Add Column, View tab. And this allows you to create different steps to do things with your data. So within this, I have ways to merge queries. And I can do, for example, a merge query. I can choose what to merge it with. So I can choose another table like this. Doesn't quite have the same ones, but then you could say that this column and this column are matching. And then you can say which kind of join you want to do. You also have this thing called fuzzy matching, and that can, for example, match. If it's 80% the same name, it can match it. If there's lowercase, uppercase, if there's a missing space, that can match it with fuzzy matching. I'm not going to be able to demo this right now. I will show you a modern if formula, though, within Power Query. So you have add column and a conditional column. So you can say here, if movie contains, let's say, war, then output late. Add clause, if minutes is greater than or equal to 40, then say many. Otherwise, keep going. You can have dates, you can have other things. Otherwise, say early, like this. And there you go. Then you can have, it's like writing a multifaceted if formula. You can then edit like this and give out this option. I mean, I'm an Excel MVP and I don't even know how to do contains in an if formula, but in Power Query, it's pretty easy. So conditional columns are fantastic. But here's one thing that is also great about Power Query. Now here you'll notice that Civil War has a small w, but that doesn't give late here. And that is because Power Query is case sensitive. But the ability and the concept that you get with this is you can go back in time and then make changes. Laws of time travel apply here. Changing the past affects the future. So if I go here and I choose to transform to lowercase, press insert. Changing the past affects the future. So if I go here, now it's affected what happens later on. Power Query is a way to create your data transformation steps, save them, and then reuse them on later data. So to show you another example of that, by the way, we are probably going to, unfortunately, go over by about 5 or 10 minutes. I'm sorry, if you have to go, please do. I know we finish at 9, but I get really excited about these things. So sorry, if you want to see really cool stuff, there's still loads more to come, but if you need to leave, that's totally understandable. All right, so back to Power Query with another use case. So over here, I have data that is in a folder. So in this folder, I have two files. I have my France data. Let me show you that. And this is what it looks like. And look how horrible this is, right? For anyone that does data analytics and data cleansing, this has tons of merged cells, hidden rows, hidden columns, subtotals, you know, no fill down. So Excel doesn't know that row number 9 is about apples. Imagine having to build a pivot table from this, right? We've been there and it's horrible. The amount of time we have to do those transformations just takes ages. Well, Power Query means you just make those transformations one time, and then every time you add something more to this folder, it automatically takes on those same ones. So let me close this one, and let me show you this. So this is the cleaned up data I just showed you. France and Austria are the two files in that folder. I have my item name, my fruits, my type, dates, etc., person name, total price. And I can go to edit this query. So let's start at the beginning. It starts with my source being the folder. So just to show you, 3 files, including this light bulb PNG. But I go through some transformations using the filters and the commands up here. I say, for example, you know, I want to only include things that end with XLS. I don't want a file for a PNG file. Then I can expand and convert it from the files into their actual data. So first it goes, as I expand action, it goes from files into sheets. So here I have a few sheets, and then I filter the sheets that I want, and I expand the data like this. And then it goes from sheets into different files, the actual files combined together. And then when I get that, I can do some other cleanup steps. So just to show you a couple of these quickly, I'm going to duplicate this so I don't kind of break things in my query. I can, for example, click use first row as headers. I can click here and choose transform fill down. And then it shows me that these two are now related to apples, something that's very difficult to do in the normal Excel. Another thing that's really difficult in the normal Excel is unpivot, the opposite of creating a pivot table, going from columns into rows. It's fantastic. I love that feature. I can't show you everything though. Then I can just click here and filter to remove empty. And then I can just sort of choose my columns. I don't need as much, so I'm just going to keep item name, person, total price, and the file name, so I can get the country. And there you go. And then I've just sort of minimized what I need to do. And then from here, I can close and load to the worksheet, or I can load it to the Power Pivot data model as well. Again, Power Query, if anyone's heard of Power BI, Power Query is as much a part of Excel as it is of Power BI. The exact same interface, the exact same way you play around with data. So once you've done that, you load your data. And this is the output that I've already preloaded with all those transformations. And as I said, Power Query remembers what you do and reapplies it. So if I go back to this data, I can just grab my UK data, which is in the same format as the others, and drag that into this folder. And all I have to do is press refresh all. And then my new rows come in here. And that then feeds through to my dashboard, which is now updated to also show UK data and has these slices and this timeline that I showed you earlier as well. So that's what Power Query does. You create the steps So the techie person can create the steps, then everyone else can reuse it just by clicking refresh to get the newest data. You can get data from a file, from a workbook, from a folder, and just added last week, still in preview, from PDF file as well. This has been in Power BI for a while, really good tool as well. But from folder is one that I use a lot. So in fact, if anyone wants to get going with this straight away, and if anyone has a direct need to be able to combine data from a folder, then I have a pre-built thing that I have created that allows you to do it. So if you want to get a free copy of that, here. So if you want to get a free copy of that, I can send it to you. I've already pre-built it. The idea is that you just sort of get from three files like this into one thing. And you just need to follow the instructions. So you kind of go to a folder path here. Get that there. Like this. So, you know, let's say, for example, I'm going to drag in some more ones. Oh. So drag in here. And then here I can press load files. And then just say yes to the ones that you want. Sheet 1, load this. And then if I go to combine files, they show up in the other tab over here. This means it's still running it. And there you go, it's updated there. So if you want a copy of this, I can give it to you. Subscribe to my YouTube channel under my name. Let me drop in a link to my YouTube channel. Because a lot of the how to do it are on my YouTube channel. So if you're committed to learning more Excel, then please do subscribe. I'm not getting any money for it, so that's not really what I'm after. I just want to kind of share my knowledge with the world. So let me just put this into the chat window as well. Okay, more in chat. Yeah, so if you subscribe to the YouTube and then you also send me an email, you can write a comment in it, or you can send me an email to David at Xlconsultingasia.com, and then I can send that to you for free. So last demo that I want to show you. Over here, using forms. So I did ask you to create a form. A form is a good thing for collaboration and getting people to work on things. As you can see, I did this during the session, so I didn't need to create these charts. It just automatically analyzes them for me. People want to learn modern formulas. I hope I've shown you that. Data transformation, yep, that's all Power Query. Third in line was data visualization, showing you some of those charts, including map charts, analysis as well, new pivot table stuff, slices, timelines, simultaneous editing, briefly showed that as well. Here I can go to open in Excel, and actually all of that gets uploaded into an Excel file, this one. So if I go back into my form, I can click it there, and all of this data automatically comes in there. How do you get that? You can either start from forms itself, or from an Excel online file, you can just create a new page and go to new form, or, well, this already has one. So from here, I can go to new form. Yeah, normally it's there. And sometimes you get troubleshooting here. You can edit the form and look at it that way. But forms are super easy to use. You create it from directly within this interface. You just add a question like name, and then add a new question. This is so easy. Like a child could do this, ranking. So rank in order. And then when you're done, you can press share. And you can choose whether anyone with a link can reply or only people within your organizations. And the way they see it is like this, computer or mobile view as well. So forms, I also have a how to do that on my YouTube channel. I think this is an invaluable part of business today. I can't imagine how I would, it's just a feature that is in my daily life in using things. And particularly if you start it with an Excel, then you can edit it and get the results directly to Excel there as well. All right, so yeah, we talked about collaboration, co-authoring, modern comments, interactive slices, and forms. So yeah, let me skip to the summary slide. I've shown you these as they are. Excel is twice as powerful as it was 10 years ago. I mean, it's not even comparable. To go from Excel 2003, which is about the version that people kept keeping up to date with new features in it, Power Query just makes it much, much better. To put it into context, nowadays, about 30 to 40% of my time in Excel is spent inside Power Query. That's how much I use it. Power Pivot is almost as good as that. Using AI tools. Dynamic arrays has really improved things. New visualization types and ways to collaborate by co-authoring or by using forms and things like that. And this gets to Excel 365. And here's my final demo. This is an example of a waterfall chart, which very clearly shows how to get from a start point to an end point by incremental changes. Final thought. You think you know Excel. Here is why you don't. This is 4 buttons that appear in the Data tab in Excel. The Data tab in Excel consists of 33 buttons total. And most people just know 4 out of 33 of them. No one clicks on the buttons. Today I've shown you stocks geography, shown you some of this stuff for Power Query, shown you flash fill up here. I haven't shown you all of this stuff, which is pretty cool. A little glimpse of Power Pivot and relationships, but there's always more. There's so much more to Excel than anyone knows is possible. You often don't need another application because you can do it within Excel. And my final thought for the day is don't be afraid to click on the new buttons. There's something you haven't seen what it does. Just try clicking on it. It's not going to break. And then you'll probably end up with something really, really awesome. Personal tech has come so far. Here's an example of a modern iPhone. But the way that people use it is sort of like if you have a brand new iPhone 11, but you only click on the buttons that were there 15 years ago. Click on the phone and you click on messages, but all the other new stuff, I hear, it's not for me. I hear, that's for advanced people. I don't need to know all that stuff. I hear, Excel doesn't do enough. I need to buy another software. No, you don't. Just try clicking on those buttons, those apps that you've never noticed before. And that is the end of my presentation. So thank you very much for that.
David, I don't think I've ever seen, albeit virtually, a group of accountants quite so excited, to be honest. The responses have been fabulous, so I think people have absolutely taken on what you've been saying. I think there'll be some great follow-up. This will be recorded and available very shortly. I know Maxime will upload it soon because it was 90 miles an hour some of the time, and people will want to revisit it.
Sure. Yeah.
But I do want to very much support your comments, David, about your YouTube channel. And this is your passion in life, and you want to help people learn. And that's the drive to get people to investigate all these new things. So David is becoming a real friend of MGI. So please explore. Next week, we're looking at PowerPoint, which I'm sure will similarly excite you based on some of the things I've seen. And then we'll be looking at Teams for accountants in about 3 weeks' time, and then following up with a Power BI and more Power Query, visualization of data, which I know is one of David's huge passions. So anything else you want to add as a sign-off, David? Thank you for all you've done today.
Yeah, actually, there is one final thing that I want to mention. So I am a Microsoft MVP, which means I'm considered to be in like the top 100 Excelers in the world. And a group of us, 26 of us, have got together, and we've created a course for free for us. That is, yeah, that has tips from 26 of the top Excel experts, and it costs $10 or $20, but all of the proceeds go to helping poorer communities during COVID-19. So if anyone wants to learn Excel from the experts, today is actually the final day. Registration closes today, so I'll put in a final link in there. I'm not trying to plug it for myself because, you know, we did this as a volunteer thing. We don't get any intake out of this, but if anyone wants to donate to a good cause and get a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to learn Excel from the experts, then feel free to sign up.
So if people sign up, David, is that something that's going to be running and available for sometime in the future once they've signed up?
Yes, yes, yes. Once you've signed up, enrollment date just finishes today, but once you've signed up, you can keep getting the materials for sure. So I threw in that link as a final thing there if people are interested.
Sounds like a great opportunity. So please take it up. We'll be meeting David again next week, same time, same place. Have a good week in the meantime. And thanks again, David. It was a fantastic session.
All right, no worries.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Fantastic. Thank you, David and Paul. I'll leave it open a bit so that people can copy and paste that that link there just to give them some time to do that, because I think that's a great opportunity. Well done. Let me stop recording, actually.
Yes. And I